bring in Rick Wilson, who has served as a Republican strategist, worked on several campaigns, including for George H.W. Bush, and was a presidential appointee to the Defense Department. So comes at this from a lot of different angles and has spoken out on record, in contrast to some of your GOP colleagues over the years, people you know quite well, about your view of this president. Bringing you into this conversation, let's walk through what's happening at this very moment. I'm going to hold up again. The brand new subpoena here has, we'll go here, it has the signatures here of your three key committee members, Schiff, Cummings, and Engel. This is the foreign policy piece. As you know, what we're seeing here is the Democrats making good on a threat that Cummings and others made earlier this week. If we don't get the stuff, you get hit with a subpoena. They're moving fast. And it's basically the foreign policy and oversight committees, Rick, doing this, and then eventually, if they do the impeachment thing, they'll hand it back to Nadler Judiciary. What does it tell you that the Democrats are moving with such alacrity?
It tells me the Democrats aren't watching the Fox News version of this story. They are focused on the legal merits of what has happened here. They're focused on the actual underpinnings of an impeachment investigation. They're taking it seriously. They've got the pedal to the metal right now. And I think that it means a lot that they're not playing Donald Trump's game. They're calling his bluff on this thing. And I think they're putting themselves in a frame where they're going to be able to use inherent contempt to start compelling some of this testimony. They're not going to let Trump run out the clock by going to court on every single thing. They should be pursuing both tracks in parallel, but they're not playing the game here that Trump wants them to play on this. And they recognize that they've got a lot of smoking guns sitting here, and they're going to pursue them.
Do you think they are approaching this White House in a fundamentally different way than they have over the last 2 years?
It feels a lot different, Ari. We're going to see if they actually will start holding people to account and start causing some pain. Because, the Lewandowski thing, the Lewandowski hearing, I think, gave the White House a false sense of confidence. But that came, of course, just before the Ukraine news started to break. And I think we're in a very different political landscape right now, and one that advantages the Democrats in this equation.
David?
Well, I think that this is a different situation. I think, you now have polls showing that something like today's poll showed 50% of Americans support impeachment versus 39% who don't. That's extraordinary. That's almost 3 times what Nixon saw before his impeachment trial started. It's roughly at the level Nixon was at a few weeks before he resigned from office. So what we've got here is a situation where the mood in the country is dramatically different from what it was just a couple of weeks ago. And I think that, the Congress essentially has the political wind at its back at the moment, but also an avalanche of facts. And even if the White House doesn't cooperate, you have in these text messages and the transcript the White House gave and a host of other areas, very clear evidence of a crime. And so they will be able to move on that with or without the cooperation of the White House.
And Rick, I'm curious about the role of logic in all this. I hate to be all journalist, lawyer about it. I know we have a lot of speeches and a lot of cynical talk about how nothing matters. This seems to be another area where a lot of things do matter. The facts as assembled and credibly presented mattered when the whistleblower was submitted them. The CIA lawyer looked at information and it mattered and made this criminal referral to DOJ. Right. That may have been mishandled. It's too early to judge. I've reported on what was different and suspicious about it, and our experts have weighed in. But that information's coming out. It seems to matter. And so my question to you, to sound naive, is it hurting the White House that they've ended this week in a completely illogical contradiction of the president admitting collusion, saying there's nothing to see here, asking other governments to get in on it, while also stonewalling so much on the basic details that they're hit with this new subpoena tonight? Do you think in some way that logical contradiction can hurt them?
I do. I mean, look, all right, remember 5 years ago on Monday when the whistleblower was fake news, it didn't exist, it was a lie, it was second or third hand news. And then the president has gone out almost every day since then and repeated the same request that the whistleblower said he made about using the American political power to extort foreign governments in order to do political favors for him. and today expanding it further and further and bringing China into the mix and using all the levers and tools of the White House in open view, in broad daylight, daring the Congress not to exercise their constitutional prerogatives at this point to go ahead and hold him to account. So I think that their idea that they can live in a bubble where only that particular audience that loves Donald Trump exists is mistaken. And eventually the law, the wheel grinds long but fine when it comes to these sort of things. And I think they've bought a lot of trouble for themselves this week.
Was that like a farm reference? What is the wheel grinding? Grain?
The wheel grinds grain. It grinds long but fine.
Long but fine, and
I was going to throw a rap reference on it.
No, I'm good with farming. When I hear something, I want to make sure I'm understanding it. So that's like and that makes for a better loaf of bread.
Yes.
David, are you hungry?
Yes, it makes for a better loaf of bread. Ari. You got that exactly right.
David's speaking to me like a mildly disappointed uncle, which is fair. That's totally fair.
I just think we need Rick Wilson's rap lyric.
Well, don't put Rick on the spot. He could play how he wants to play.
Rick put it in evidence.
He's got 99 problems, and Ukraine is one.
Fair. Maya, I want to tie it all together here in all seriousness, which is the obstruction, as the Democrats put it, the resistance, as the White House puts it. What Rick says about the illogic and the heat and getting out of the bubble. There is a reference that I'm going to make, not just because Rick went to the grain, but there is one of the crack commandments that applies. Never get high on your own supply.
On your own supply.
On your own supply, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what Rick is actually saying is very real, which is if your supply has become a political bubble of propaganda, which really starts with some of what Rudy Giuliani was saying, that Trump's own appointees and officials said, this is conspiracy stuff, we got to stop it, and goes all the way out to thinking how everything's going to play well and it's not playing well. Is there an actual cognitive error above and beyond what Democrats say are impeachable criminal errors?
Yeah.
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 Rick, briefly, final word.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to my. Look, I think that the errors and the fundamental problems that they're facing, they're going to keep accreting. They're going to keep building up one on the other, and so you're not going to end up in a situation where they can just BS their way out of it every day and say, "Oh, well, Sean Hannity says it's not true."
Yeah. And they should remember. So when Bill Clinton was being in an impeachment process, his approval ratings went sky high. Donald Trump, we've seen a 2% drop just in the past 2 weeks. So it's even if he can hold his base, which we should assume he can, he is not seeing the jump in approval that would come if he thought his oxygen were breathable.
Right, you're not seeing that rallying, and the impeachment numbers shifted about 10 points, which was striking as well. Not that this is, of course, a vote on it.
Almost all independent voters.
Right. Now I really have to fit in a break because we've been tracking so many stories. Rick Wilson, David Rothkopf, Maya Wiley, thank you so much. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.